The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
It's Not Your Fault is a podcast for parents, caregivers, and young people navigating the world and its challenges. Here's your host, Brandon Jones.
Greetings all and welcome back to another installment of It Is Not Your Fault, a teen mental health podcast. I am your host, Brandon Jones. And on today's episode, we are diving back into teens and their phones and social media technology, all those things. In today's episode, we're going to look at what happens when young people take a break from their cell phones. Are they more irritated? Are they angry? Are they happy? Are they discovering themselves? Are they more sociable? We're going to dive into all of that today on the podcast. And the reason why we're going to dive into that is because a new article or study was released from Pew Research. They did a survey and they found that despite positive associations with going phone free, most teens have not limited their phone or social media usage. So they found out two things through Pew Research, that even when young people discovered, well, let me back up. The first thing they discovered is young people actually have a good time when they're not on their phones. Who would have thought it? Well, most folks who are old millennials, Gen Xers, boomers, we probably already knew that. We remember a time when we were young, we didn't have cell phones. We would go outside from the crack of dawn and stay outside even past the time when the street lights came on. We would find things to do. We would bump into things. We would just discover the world around us. Even if you were an introvert, maybe you stayed to yourself, but you were outside discovering, playing with rocks, engaging with animals, looking up at the sky, looking at leaves, touching grass, walking along the railroad tracks. I'm just mentioning some random things that I did when I was a kid. And, this is what I think a lot of young people miss today. If they're not into activity, if they don't play sports, a lot of these kids are video gaming or they're zapped into their phones or they're doing both. They're playing sports, they're in activities, and they're on a device. So this is a new world. We know that. We've been in this space now for about 15 years. And each year it gets more and more enmeshed into the technology. I think parents get more and more scared, and that's going to happen until these young people become the parents, which I think over the next 5 to 10 years, some of them will become those young people who were born at the turn of the century here in 99, 2000, 2001. Those folks are in their 20s. They're ready to become parents, and soon the folks who are parents at that age, who are already parents at that age, I should say, their children will become at the age where devices are a very prime element of their lives. So, it's this thing that we keep talking about and we keep focusing on. So the survey from the article, again, Pew Research, the survey comes as policymakers and children's advocates are growing increasingly concerned with teens' relationships with their phones and social media. Last fall, 2023, dozens of states, including California and New York, sued Instagram and Facebook owner Meta Platforms, Inc. for harming young people and contributing to the youth mental health crisis by knowingly and deliberately designing features that addict children. Now, they didn't win. That's still out. I think some of this legal battle is still out to determine what's going to happen at this point in time. In January, the CEOs of Meta, TikTok, X, and other social media companies went before the Senate Judiciary Committee to testify about their platforms, how their platforms may harm young people. So, of course, many people are concerned about this. You have self-esteem concerns, you have access to pornography, you have access to what I would consider harmful information where people are learning how to harm themselves, whether that's creating weapons, doing dangerous challenges, fights, encouraging aggressive activity, finding sneaky ways to do things like steal cars or break into buildings. Like social media is free game. It's the wild wild west, one would say, where people are just out there and they're surviving and they're learning and they're engaging, and everything's not, nice. Everything is not feel good on the internet. And as a parent myself, I think about this all the time. My kids, on a daily basis, I'll be honest, they have at least 60 to 90 minutes of tablet time or screen time, we can say. They don't have cell phones, but it doesn't matter because they have iPads, which do everything a cell phone does outside of make a direct phone call using the phone service. It does everything else, FaceTime, text messaging. They have access to many different apps. Now, they're not on social media. None of my children have social media accounts, but they are on platforms that social media stuff leaks out from. So that is a concern. So even if you are a parent that has taken away the cell phone or you've limited your child's access to the internet, your child is still impressionable with some of the things that are out there on social media because it's on YouTube Kids. It's on these other platforms as well. It leaks out to those things because all this stuff is shareable. So it's important for you to remember that as we're looking at this battle. And it's important to understand how this influences the mind of a young person. We know it influences the mind of adults. I mean, I can't tell you how many adults that I know who are taking tips for restaurants or trips or looks or things that they desire because they've seen it on a social media platform. If it can leave that imprint on an adult's mind, imagine what it can do to a child. So despite the increasing concern, most teens say smartphones make it easier to be creative and pursue hobbies, while 45% said it helps them do well in school. Most teens said that the benefits of having a smartphone outweigh the harms for people their age. Nearly all U.S. teens, 95%, have access to a smartphone, according to Pew Research. That is all of them. That is all. That is almost every young person you know has their own phone. 95% of U.S. teens have a smartphone. Holy cow. Majority of teens say smartphones make it a little or a lot easier for people their age to pursue hobbies and interests, which was 69% said that. Be creative, which was 65%. Close to half, 45%, say that these devices have made it easier for youth to do well in school. The poll was conducted between September 26 of 2023 and October 23rd. So they took about roughly a month to gather this data. And amongst that, they sampled 1,453 pairs of teens with one parent. So it was a teen parent dynamic where they did this survey, which is smart. I like how they did that. That's nice because you get the parents to kind of oversee what's being asked, and hopefully they ask the parents some questions too. The margin of error, that's for the nerds. The margin of error was plus or minus 3.2%, which means it was a pretty strong study. Let's see, what was the other thing I wanted to share with you all? Oh yeah, this was it. 42% of teens say smartphones make them good 42% of teens say smartphones make learning good social skills harder, while 30% say it makes it easier. So you have 42% of teens say that using smartphones make learning social skills harder, which means that 42% of the young people who are using their smartphones find it difficult to create interactions not on their smartphones. They're struggling with that. When we see this, we've seen how the pandemic has made it a struggle for a lot of kids, not just teens, but even younger, socialize, especially for those kids who were just entering school, who didn't have that social connection through kindergarten, first grade, etc. Those kids are now fourth graders, and they're having all type of social interaction issues across the board. And it's crossing race, it's crossing how many languages you speak. Socialization is very important. But the study also said that 30% said it makes it easier. So one may think, what do those 30% of youth, how are they viewing communication and engagement And what skills or tools or personality traits do they have that makes it easier? That's a fascinating thing to look at. And how can we leverage some of those things that those youth are using so these other 42% can utilize it? It also begs the question of this. What is the other 18% of young people dealing with? Are they just kind of in the middle? Do they not know how it's affecting their social skills? These numbers can be a lot larger because there's still 18% that haven't answered the question at all. So it's a pretty interesting study. All right. I've been rambling about this study for a while. I just wanted to bring you all some quick tips and some insights. Again, this is It Is Not Your Fault, a Teen Mental Health podcast, because it's important for parents to know what's happening, how folks are studying this stuff, and don't be too scared. I'm going to leave you all with a positive message when it comes to technology and your children. You have to make some boundaries. You have to have boundaries in the dynamics with social media and your children. Set some standards, allow them to have some access, but monitor that access. If you can't monitor the access as a parent and caregiver, you're going to struggle because your kids are going to have access to things that are out there. Please know too that they're gonna do some discovery. Just like when we were kids, we did things. We found the Playboy under the parents' mattress and all that stuff. You know how people tell those types of stories? Your kids are going to discover some things you don't want them to see. That's a part of growing up. Don't assume just because your kid comes across that stuff that they're gonna initiate or they're going to participate in those things. So do keep that in mind as well. But at the same time, the best thing you can do is try to build an authentic rapport with your child so that you both can have open conversations about the things that may show up on social media. Talk to them about the stuff that you see on social media, because a lot of us, we're using it too. Engage with your child as much as you can, and hopefully they won't keep too many things in the dark. Kids are going to have their secrets. That doesn't mean that they're bad kids. That just means that they are participating in youth culture. But as a parent, you want to make sure that they're safe. And one of the best things you can do to make sure they're safe is keep open line of communication and model healthy behaviors. That's all the tips I'm going to give. Usually I give like 7 tips. I'm going to keep it short today. Again, my name is Brandon Jones. It is Not Your Fault, a Teen Mental Health podcast. Make sure you check us out in 3 locations. The first is our Facebook group. Just go ahead and search It Is Not Your Fault podcast, where you can find this article that we talked about today, other articles that I wrote and I share, as well as other episodes of the podcast on Facebook. Again, just search It Is Not Your Fault podcast on Facebook. The second place you can find us at my website, www.jegna.org. That's jegna.org, where you can ask me questions directly or check out some of my other work. Or if you like the podcast, you can check us out at the podcast network, which is ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com, where you can find myself and other great podcasters who have dynamic shows helping you live the best life that you can live, whether you're a parent, a young person, or whatever the case may be. All right, that's going to do it for today. Please take care of yourselves. Be safe, be smart, and be well. Take care. Peace.
To check out previous episodes of It's Not Your Fault, or to learn more about Brandon Jones, log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
People say we're made up. Tall tales. Myths. Think what you want about us, but we can all be certain of this. Recycling is real, and it works. But what happens to your recycling once it leaves your home? Recycled glass is sorted in St. Paul. Then the clear glass is made into bottles for drinks, pickles, salad dressing, and more in Shakopee. At other facilities, plastic bottles get made into new plastic bottles. Recycling exists. Learn the real story behind recycling.
It's not just another day in your life. Things are changing for the better. At Comcast, we see those changes, and we're thinking about how we use technology today to live, work, learn, and play. And we're building for the future now, so we're better prepared for the wants and needs of tomorrow. That's why Comcast is rolling out multi-gig internet speeds to more than 50 million homes and businesses before the end of 2025, making our already industry-leading network even faster, smarter, greener, and more reliable. Over the decades, Comcast has been your partner, working hard to serve your community, and will continue to be your partner. we're expanding our gigabits so you can enjoy the tiny bits that matter most.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
What should you do if you have COVID-19 symptoms like fever, congestion, or sore throat, body aches, or an upset stomach? Take a self-test as soon as you can. A positive test detects evidence of the virus that causes COVID-19. Guidelines say that those who test positive should stay home and isolate for at least 5 full days. During this time, wear a high-quality mask, wash hands often, and avoid contact with other folks in your household. If possible, stay in a separate room and use a separate bathroom. Inform anyone you were in recent close contact with about your positive test result. If you are at high risk for severe illness, contact your healthcare provider about treatment options that might lessen the serious impact of COVID-19. If you test negative, repeat the test in 48 hours to confirm the result. If your symptoms or fever persists, you're advised to stay home until your symptoms are better and at least 24 hours passes with no fever. And remember, you can always get in touch with your healthcare provider if you have concerns about your symptoms.
Are you a woman known as a good listener? Do you have skills in de-escalating situations? Are you what they call a people person? Then the Minneapolis Police Department would like to meet you. Now in a rebuilding phase, the Minneapolis Police Department is recruiting more women to wear the badge. The department offers career options for women with a high school diploma or GED. There are also opportunities for women with 2- and 4-year degrees who are ready to apply their skills in new ways. Police work makes a great second career for social workers, teachers, nurses. Women in their 30s and 40s are welcome to apply. There's no age cap. You'll be paid while you train and mentored by veteran women officers invested in your success. Minneapolis also welcomes current police officers to join the state's largest department. Make a difference on the streets, working in your community, in a career with competitive salaries and generous benefits. Go to minneapolismn.gov and search police jobs to find out more.
If you live in an older home, it may contain lead-based paint on walls, woodwork, and windows. Even more bad news, lead exposure can be dangerous to young children and impact their brain development. And now, the good news. Hennepin County will fix lead hazards in your home at no cost to you.
We were worried because of the paint in the windows in the bedroom. They were peeling and chipping, and we know that when paint peels and chips and it looks a certain way, that's possibly lead. We were worried for our children more so than anything.
Eligible homes can qualify for up to $15,000 in upgrades. You may even qualify for new energy-efficient windows. Don't worry, Hennepin County has a trusted list of pre-approved contractors. You won't even have to find companies with correct licenses or certifications.
I've just done a test and it's positive. So we know that this is lead-based paint, and then we know it's a hazard because it's creating dust every time this window moves and opens. And if you look in here, that's just full of lead paint chips.
You won't have to stay with your cousin while you're getting the lead out. Hennepin County even pays for you and your family to stay in a hotel while the work is underway. The last good news is how easy it is to apply. Just go to hennepin.us/lead control to get started.
I'm really happy with the program. We can go to bed knowing that our children are safe.
That's hennepin.us/lead control. Tell your friends about it.